We're joining us right now, as he does each and every Monday and Friday, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad to talk more about the Phillies. What I'm quantifying as a disappointing weekend for the Phils as they now get ready for a 6-game road trip out on the West Coast. Bob, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Certainly a disappointing weekend for the Phillies. You know, they get off to such a great start on this homestand against the Mets, but then to lose 4 out of their final 6 games against the Dodgers and Reds certainly takes a little bit of shine off of that weekend that they had at Citizens Bank Park last weekend.
And Bob, part of the reason why it's disappointing is because, and I was explaining this to the audience earlier, because someone accused me of being a negative Nancy. To me, when you have expectations, when you start playing better, you get criticized more. It's par for the course. You know, you got Wheeler and Nola going out there. They're supposed to be the 2 games that you win over the weekend, but instead you win with Matt Moore on the mound. And that was against technically the Reds' best pitcher in Castillo. So it's like, okay, well, we expected to win 2 out of 3, walk out with 1 out of 3, and it's the one game that we all expected them to lose. So, I feel like a little let down here by the Phils.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Matt Moore gives him a huge boost on Saturday, but when you have Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola bookending this series, you expect to find a way to win it. And listen, I know that they have a number of injuries. Certainly now you're seeing Rhys Hoskins, who's been out for an extended period of time. His absence has really hurt this offense. His run production in the middle of the order has really hurt this offense. You've seen that Andrew McCutchen, no, he hit a home run on Saturday, but you can see that he's struggling a little bit since he's returned in the middle of the week. You know, so they have to get these guys all kind of clicking again from an offensive standpoint. I can almost excuse Zach Wheeler having a little bit of a down start after the way that he pitched against the Mets in that series finale last Sunday. But Aaron Nola yesterday goes out and has that really encouraging start against Los Angeles. It gets washed away after 4 innings. For him to go out and put his team down immediately on the 3rd pitch of the game and then kind of bury him in the middle innings there, the way that offense is scuffling right now, it's really disappointing. And I think that you can say, hey, listen, the Phillies lost 2 out of 3 to the Cincinnati Reds this weekend. It's not a huge story, but if they can't get Aaron Nola right, and listen, they're so far along in the season now, I think that there's real doubts that he's going to be able to string together 3, 4, 5 really good vintage Aaron Nola starts at this point. And if they can't do that, or if he can't do that, they're in a lot of trouble.
And they're in more trouble because of the fact, let's be realistic, all they have right now is really Nola, Wheeler, Gibson, and then whatever they can cobble together, because, Bob, we don't know when Zach Eflin's coming. I can't guarantee that Eflin's coming back this week or next week. I can't guarantee that Matt Moore's going to give you what he gave. I'm actually more likely he's not going to give you what he gave you on Saturday, right? So, to me, if, you mentioned on Twitter that Nola, he has a year where there's only 8 other guys who have had worse ERAs right now who have the same number of innings as him. So, this guy has to step up, and I don't know if the Dave Dombrowski comment from a month ago when he said, "Oh, there's something wrong with mechanics," I don't know if there really is something to that, but I'm almost starting to wonder, Bob, has Aaron Nola peaked?
Yeah, so I actually tweeted this out a couple minutes ago. There's I guess 42 different pitchers right now in the National League that have thrown at least 100 innings this season, and only 8 of them have a worse ERA than Aaron Nola. But on the flip side of that, there are only 10 that have a better WAR than Aaron Nola. So, it's been a really bizarre season. And I think it's a testament to the types of games that he's had here over the last handful of starts. He's looked really good, borderline dominant, and then he's been an absolute disaster, And so there it is up on the screen. I see it there. And, it's really interesting. When I watch Aaron Nola pitch, I see a guy that just looks tentative right now. Looks like a guy who is really lacking confidence, that doesn't believe or doesn't have a lot of conviction in his fastball. And you've heard people say it, and I'm in full agreement. I really think that Aaron Nola's struggles all play back into a lack of fastball command, a lack of consistency locating the fastball, and it's really, really hurt him. And yesterday, all 6 of the hits that he gave up were with 2 strikes. So I just see a guy that's really, really struggling right now and fighting it for a prolonged stretch for the first time probably in his high school, collegiate, or professional career. Have we seen the best of him? I don't know that. I'd like to think that there's a guy here that has a lot of talent, and that a lot of his secondary and peripheral numbers suggest that he can still be, if not an ace, still a top of the rotation type of guy. But man, he is just, you really just can't trust him right now.
Bob Wankel joining us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN at Bob Wankel CB on Twitter. If you weren't watching on the YouTube stream, we popped up on the screen for everybody watching. For all of you listening on 97.3 ESPN, just go to his Twitter account at Bob Wankel CB. Now, with all that being said, Bob, they're going into a series coming up with a day off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are one of the most perplexing teams in baseball because their pitching staff is pretty much atrocious, but they can still hit home runs and slug. So it's one of those deals where it's like, hey, the Phillies can score against this team, but it's like, oh, wait a minute, they can score against you too. So I know the Diamondbacks have a very bad record on the year, and they're going to play them 7 times over the next couple of weeks, but you got to make sure they don't score against you either.
Yeah, you're talking about an Arizona team here that is just a terrible baseball team. They're roughly 40 games under 500 coming into this series with the Phillies. That being said, you said it, offensively, they are capable of doing some things, and they obviously play in a just murderer's row of a National League West. I mean, when you play as many games as you have to against San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and even a Colorado team, which is pretty good at home when they play at Coors Field, if you're not a very good team, you're going to find yourself buried very quickly. And certainly Arizona's not good, but they've had a tough schedule. And the biggest thing for me is the Phillies have done a better job over the last month or so taking care of inferior opponents. That's something that they have not done for a number of years, and they've handled their business against teams that they should beat over the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. Yesterday after the game, Joe Girardi was asked about this, and he said, I don't want to hear anything about the schedule. We just got to take care of business. And Bryce Harper was asked about it too, and he mentioned numerous times about how it's going to be an electric atmosphere in San Diego next weekend, how good that Padres team is. And he kind of just slipped it in there and said, we just have to take care of business against Arizona. And this has trap games written all over it. And I know that people don't talk about that in baseball as much as they do in football and the NFL. But, man, if the Phillies go to sleep out in Arizona this week, they're going to be in trouble. I mean, this is a stretch where you look at Atlanta now has a 1-game lead. They have the Marlins and they have the Orioles over their next 6 games. Phillies don't go out on this West Coast swing here and get at least 4 of them. Atlanta has an opportunity to expand that lead.
And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, the Arizona Diamondbacks are coming off of a 4-game series with the Padres where they scored a total of 24 runs over 4 games against the Padres, a team that's probably going to the playoffs and most people think could be a World Series contender. So, like you said, you can't let up against Arizona just because they're Arizona. You got to get business done because the reality is that you mentioned the Braves are in first place. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. From here on out, you can't have any more excuses about, Nola had a bad day. Oh, the offense went cold when Wheeler had to start. No, you got to say, you know what? We're playing the stinking Diamondbacks. We got to win all 3 of these games because we can't guarantee that we go to San Diego, we're to win 3 of those games.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you consider what they've done offensively themselves over the last 6 games. I mean, the Phillies are averaging 2.5 runs per game. They were shut out by Los Angeles last week. They were almost shut out by Cincinnati on Friday night. And they scuffled yesterday. The Phillies scored 4 runs. And with Aaron Nola on the mound, you'd like to think that should be enough to win that game. But they stranded multiple base runners 4 times over the final 5 innings of that game yesterday. I mean, they had a number of opportunities to get up there, score 6, 7, 8 runs, and potentially outslug Cincinnati yesterday, and they didn't do it. And so Phillies have really struggled offensively over the last week or so, and they really need to turn it on now. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, when they go out to Arizona, they're going to throw Kyle Gibson. They're going to have Ranger Suarez, who at this point now in his 4th start is basically going to be fully stretched out. You would hope that you're going to get 5, 6 innings out of him. And then you come back with Zach Wheeler in that finale. And so you're getting 3 of your better arms, guys that have done a nice job for you the last few times out. And they really have to make sure that they take care of business here.
Bob Wankel joining us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN at Bob Wankel CB on Twitter. Follow him for all your Phillies coverage there over at Crossing Broad. Bob, you mentioned the batting lineup. What is the reason for their struggles? Is it because Girardi's still trying to figure out the combination of the lineup? Is it because the lack of Hoskins in the middle is really that much of a difference? What is it in your mind?
I think that there's a number of things that I kind of currently see right now. mean, Rhys Hoskins being out first and foremost is just a crusher. I mean, he is this team's best run producer, and they're missing that right now, and there's no doubt about that. But I think that there's a variety of things happening here as well. You know, Andrew McCutchen, talking about a player with 21 home runs right now, but like we said, since he's come back, he's struggled a little bit. They're not getting consistent production in center field. They really haven't all season. You know, Odubel Herrera has his moments at the plate, but then he has his games where, you know, you're scratching your head and saying, how much longer can they ride with this guy? And then you look at what Ronald Torreyes has done over at third base. I mean, he's done a really nice job for the Phillies. He's brought some defensive stability over there. He gets a lot of timely hits for this team. You know, I've tweeted it several times, like, where on earth would the Phillies be right now without Ronald Torreyes? However, you know, you're not getting what you thought was going to be above average offensive production from the position. You know, Alec Bohm was supposed to be a guy that could come in and hit 270, 280 for you. You know, maybe drive 20 home runs, maybe have 30, 40 doubles. And you're not getting any type of power production whatsoever from third base. I mean, you know, I know Ronald Torreyes, again, hit a solo home run in the Cincinnati series. Occasionally he'll pop one, but you're not getting premier production from that position. And then the final thing that I kind of come back and look at is, you know, what you're getting out of JT Realmuto right now. You know, he has a hit or two here and there. I know he tripled the other day, but like, you're not getting consistent power production out of JT Realmuto. And so, you know, it's just a variety of factors. All of these different things are kind of coming together right now and have the Phillies in a little bit of a cold spell.
Also considering the fact that, you know, I'm curious why Girardi is still playing with certain guys. So I think it's obvious at this point that certain guys are just not hitting well at certain points of the lineup. Like, I don't understand. Like, people have been texting me tweeting at me this week. Why is Odubel at the top of the lineup? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. Like, I can't. I feel like I can't give you good enough answers because Girardi doesn't give you guys who are the media a good enough answer. Like, I don't feel like we don't really have a specific reason why the lineup has been at certain times, certain ways. And I feel like because of that, I don't have a good enough answer for exactly what the issue is.
I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to Odubel Herrera, that the Phillies just feel that he provides the most upside out of all of their options. Like, as infuriating of a player as he can be, the base running gaffes, sometimes he has bad breaks on the ball. He goes through prolonged slumps at the plate. But occasionally he puts together that multi-hit game, and I don't think that they feel that Travis Jankowski can do that. Like, you're starting to see Travis Jankowski, who had a nice little run for a period. He's kind of getting overexposed now, you know? And so Mickey Moniak is a player that I just don't believe that organizationally speaking that they have a ton of faith in. Like, I know a lot of fans, like, especially I read it on Twitter all the time, you know, why not Mickey Moniak? Like, they should give him a shot. He can't be worse. Like, he can be.
He is worse.
He's had a decent year at AAA, and I understand his age and all of that and relative experience to the average of those people in AAA. But at the bottom line is I don't believe that with 40-plus games left that the Phillies trust a player that's that young who really hasn't been that good, even at the minor league level, to come in and hold it down. And one other thing I'll say, you know, everyone wants to point out Odubel Herrera and his shortcomings, but you look at the production that they're getting from Brad Miller right now in place of Rhys Hoskins. I mean, listen, Brad Miller this month is hitting under 150. And it seems like every time the guy gets a hit, it's a big one. And there's something to be said for that, is the timeliness and clutch factor. But Brad Miller has been a net negative for this team, you know, pretty much over the last month. I mean, he's been borderline abysmal. And, you know, he's a nice guy. He's a spark plug player. He's clutch and all of those great things that you love to say about a player. But at the end of the day, he's just not very productive.
He is Bob Wankel at Bob Wankel CB on Twitter. Follow him for all your Phillies coverage. Phillies are on the West Coast for the next 6 days. Day off today. They're back in action tomorrow. And Bob will be back on the show this Friday to talk more about the Phillies. Bob, enjoy the late nights with the Phillies.
Yeah, it's going to be a long week, man. I'll talk to you soon.